Hello, everyone. Before we start the presentation, I got cut off in the beginning of the video, so I kind of wanted to recap what I said on the first slide for those of you that were not there in person. First of all, thank you so much for being here. This is the first time I ever took a step back throughout the 5 years that I've had my brand, and it was really awesome to be able to reflect and look at everything that I've kind of done and created and be able to share that to impact you guys and inspire you guys. So I'm super honored and blessed that you are here, because if you weren't here, I wouldn't be able to be here. So that literally means everything to me. So let's just start with the first slide. So my real name is Cory Johnson. I'm better known as Cory Infinite. I am a 23-year-old independent fashion designer, born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm still living in Kansas City. And so I've always had a passion for art. I've always loved, I'm sorry, there's like a hair in my eye or something. I've always had a passion and love for art and fashion. My mom has a journal that she wrote about me when I was younger. There's probably about 25, 30 pages in that journal. And on one of the pages, my mom wrote down that I was very particular with the clothes that I wore and that I would change my outfits multiple times a day. And this was when I was 3 years old. So fashion has always been there for me. I've loved it ever since I could know how to think. So that's an important detail to this story, and one of my personal favorite flexes of mine. And I believe that we start with knowing what we love. There's some photos right here of examples of some foreshadowing. And yeah, I think, as we're kids, we know what gets us excited. We know what we love. We know what our passions are right when we start. But as time goes on, it can be harder to see or believe in those passions and gifts and excitements because the world is noisy. But we have to protect our excitement. We have to protect our passions from the world and know that they're meant for us, and nobody can get in the way of that. So just want to start that off. And then I believe that I inherited skills from both my mom and my dad. My mom was a brand strategist and like a marketer for Coca-Cola back in the 90s. And so that's where I believe I get my brand thinking brain. And my dad is someone that can build anything with his hands. He is an excellent carpenter, woodworker. I still go to him to this day if I have a question about one of my pieces, and he's always someone that can figure something out as far as just building anything. So I love you, Mom and Dad. I'm blessed by your support, and that's pretty much what I started the beginning of the presentation with. So thank you again so much for being here, supporting me in my art. We got a new book on the way. I'll get more into that in the presentation, so enjoy it. I love you so much, and be you, be infinite.
It's just, fashion is something that's always been there for me, and it's just something I've always loved. So I think when we're kids, when we're young, we start with knowing what we love, and then as time goes on, it can kind of be harder to see that or believe in that. And I also believe I inherited skills from both my parents. My mom and dad are here today, and my dad is excellent, just craftsman, like woodworker, like can make anything with his hands. And so like if I still go to him to this day if I have a question about like a piece of clothing, even though he doesn't do a lot of sewing, he still can just get anything done. So I get that from my dad. And then my mom was a brand strategist for Coca-Cola back in the 90s. So I think that's where I get like my brand mind from. So yeah, that's the start. And so throughout my whole life, I've just, like I said, I loved art. It's like a drawing I did when I was probably like 4 or 5. Doodling like all the time, just drawing. And after probably from like zero years old to like, I'd say like 6, I was drawing, and then I switched kind of over to origami around like second grade. Second, third, fourth grade, I was kind of doing origami. Got like really into that. And then so middle school rolls around, and I'm starting to get into like photography and stuff. And I'm also actually in middle school selling, like I'm reselling sneakers on the side. So I'm still kind of doing like brand type stuff. And then so these are a couple examples of me and my friend Nick from high school. We would just go to abandoned buildings like summer 2018 and just explore and take pictures of abandoned places because that's what we thought was fun. So here's a couple more examples. These are all like local just spots in Kansas City. This actually burned down, I think, recently, so that's not there, but it was an old school. But yeah, just I always try to find the beauty within, just like everywhere. It's like, it's not hard to find if you really look at it from a different angle. So that was, all the abandoned photography stuff was like my sophomore year of high school, and then that's when I got into, around my junior year, I got into like concert photography with Nick. Some of you may know him now. His name's Nick Fry. He goes by Nick's Music Taste. He's like a music reviewer now online. But yeah, in high school, our junior year and senior year, we would just be like finessing our way into concerts any way we could, just like trying to figure it out, just because it was what we loved to do. And so, got a little picture of Tyler. We all probably know who this is. Funny story, I met Patrick Mahomes backstage at a Machine Gun Kelly concert, so that's what that's from. And then Earl Sweatshirt, of course. I actually think this was at the Granada, I'm pretty sure. So. And then my friend Brendan, he's actually in the crowd. That was from high school. Trippy Red, actually love this because it's got the little infinite sign. Denzel Curry on film. And so yeah, that's what I was really doing around like my senior year of high school. I was going to concerts, and I thought that was what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life, but as time goes on, my medium switched. And so COVID shut down all the concerts, and I still needed to create. So I would go to Walgreens, print out these like 4x6 photographs, and then I would actually take a lighter to them and burn them. And then I would tape them together and run them through a printer scanner. I don't know where I got the idea, but it just came to me. So, and I really liked the way it looked. So those are just a few examples of those. After that, I started doing like album cover mock-ups. I just like print out the album covers, burn them, and then like run them through the scanner. There's some examples of those. And then this is the first piece of clothing I've ever made. It was in my high school fashion class. Shout out Mrs. Sylvie. She was the teacher, and she taught me the basics of how to use an in-home sewing machine. So this was like for the final project of the year. And I just found the blanket at Savers, just liked the design and cut it up and turned it into a sweater for the class. And then so I was at a point where I was graduating high school, this was 2020, and I was working at Hy-Vee. I actually recently framed my jersey, so it's like motivation every time I look at it to not go back to the 9-to-5 job. And so I actually started the brand initially called Infinite Pieces. That was what it was originally called. And I was just making these tapestry sweaters. And so like, I knew I didn't want to go to college. I knew like I didn't want to go to art school because I just hated like having to be in like the same place every single day doing stuff. Like, just did not work my mind. So it was just like an easy decision to just kind of go the entrepreneur route. And so I was pushing carts at Hy-Vee, and when I would get off work at Hy-Vee, I would go home and sew. And I would just make clothes in our upstairs room at my dad's house. So thank you, Dad, for just like allowing me to live in that house and create in that house with really not having to pay rent or anything. So that was a blessing.
Floor vibrated like 14 hours a day.
I was sewing all day, all night, after and before work. So, or after, yeah, I said it right. I'm trying to remember my words. So yeah, I was working at Hy-Vee, pushing carts and making these sweaters on the side, and I built up probably like 10 of them. And then like I would post them online, and like I did like a drop of like 10 sweaters, and they all sold out in like 2 days. And there was this girl at the time that like started following me, and she had like 14 million followers. So I just shot her a message. I'm like, hey, if I send you a sweater, would you like post it and tag me? She's like, sure. So I shipped out a sweater to this girl with 14 million followers, and I was in the parking lot of Hy-Vee pushing carts when I get the notification that she posted the picture of her wearing the sweater and tagging me, and my phone was just like blowing up. I think I gained like 3,000 followers in that whole day into the next day span. So after that, went back to Hy-Vee, put in my 2 weeks, and I've never been back to a 9 to 5 since. And so after that, like I said, I had my dad's house to just create in, and I knew that I had to figure something out, and I knew that attention was on the internet. So like, this is an example of like one of the videos that I would make. This is in the backyard of my dad's house. I just set it up as like a little runway, and I would just go to thrift stores, just find like anything, and just kind of figure out a way to wear it, whether it be a doily or just kind of whatever. That was what was fun to me. And so that was kind of after I quit my job at Hy-Vee. And like I said, I knew the attention was online. TikTok was just starting to like kind of get vamped up, and I literally posted like 5 times a day for 4 months straight. Like I was grinding, and like I posted every day probably for a year straight. And then I built up a TikTok account to like 50,000 followers, and then it thought I was like spamming, and so it got like taken down. So I had to restart, but I wasn't discouraged because I knew like if I did it once, I can do it again, kind of thing. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. And then so after I did like so for a lot of the videos I did, like a lot of the pieces weren't even that functional. I was literally just going to thrift stores, throwing stuff on just to like make content around it and like build a following. And so like after I got kind of tired of that, I was like, all right, I need to make pieces where I can actually sell them. So here is a couple examples of those. This is a jumpsuit, all from recycled thrifted fabric. I call it the Tree of Life. This is a trench coat that I made from scratch. If you guys have been to River Market Antiques, all of that material is from there. If you haven't been there, you need to check it out. It's the best antique store in Kansas City. Here's some more pieces. Just a hunting vest that I added lace to. Thought it looked pretty cool. Here's a jacket that I made out of shirts. So that the concept was like copying and pasting. And so there's actually shirts that are copied and pasted, and then there's socks, and then there's underwear. And like the back has like pants that are like copied and pasted. I hosted a trash cleanup in the West Bottoms, and I told everyone to collect bottles and cans. And so that's what I ended up making with all of the trash that we collected down in the West Bottoms. And then this is just a pair of pants I call leopard blossoms. And then this pair of pants I just made from the base of like a Christmas tree mat or whatever. It's got like the fly fishing pockets I added. Recycled jewelry, clocks on the shoulders. Just kind of wanted to make it look as like clustered and over the top as possible. Made this mask from buttons. Made this hat out of the ends of Ethernet cables. My dad works for a company downtown where they're always throwing away e-waste and stuff. And so I told my dad, can you please grab like all of the e-waste that they're throwing away? And so that's what I turned that into. And then got a lacrosse helmet, added some motherboards. Thought it looked really awesome. And then this mask is out of just like blue velvet. It's a technique called smocking. It dates back to the 15th century, and I kind of added just my own little twist to it. The red eyes are from a bracelet that broke apart from like a thrift store, and I just like re-sewed the pieces back onto the mask. This jumpsuit, just again, thrifted materials. One of my favorites. I don't think I'll ever sell it just because I love it so much. And then I turned a radio into a mask. And then so I moved it, as I'm making all this stuff, I got to a point where I built up a little bit of capital and I moved out into my own house. That's what it looked like when I moved in. This is what it looked like now. It has sewing machines everywhere. This is like a half living room, so it's like, this is like right when you walk in the front door too, so it's bam, just right in your face. Like, it's the operation instantly. And so, moved out, made a pair of pants with my roommate, completely covered in 7,000 pennies. It took 200 hours to complete.
What's your inspiration on this?
Questions? We'll wait for questions on that. We got a keyboard jumpsuit. So this again came from my dad's company that was throwing away tons of keyboards, tons of e-waste. It's a massive company down in Kansas City. So I was like, please grab all of them. So I turned a ton of keyboards into a jumpsuit.
and I love this photo. And shout out my friend Evan Johnson. He's the photographer behind a lot of the studio photos you're seeing. He goes to Mizzou, so I know you guys probably don't like that. Back in January 2025, I made this belt cover, just jean belt outfit with me, my roommate again. Then in that same month, I completed the smocking khaki set, which is the jacket you see there, and the Converse I'm actually wearing them right now. So that was 130 hours of work. Here's just a little detail shot of smocking. Smocking jeans, I wanted to experiment with different fabrics. These jeans were probably the hardest piece I've ever made because hand stitching through like 8 layers of dead stock vintage denim hundreds of times just killed my hand. So like this piece was probably one of my most labor intensive pieces. And then I made this suit probably like 3 years ago, and then I made this mask probably like 1 year ago, and then they kind of just blended perfectly together. And I've had this suitcase for a while, so just kind of styled it that way. Made an outfit completely out of ties. Didn't know how I was gonna do it, and I started just kind of piecing things together because that's what I do. I just like grab materials, throw it in front of me, and try to figure out what the best way to use them is. And so this is what it was. I just weaved ties and made a whole outfit. The pants are right there, obviously. All right, and then achievements/stories. August of 2021, I wake up to a couple notifications of people tagging me in this German rapper UFO 361's post. They're like, "Yo, your mask is on the cover of Vogue Germany," on their website. And I was like, "What the heck? No way!" And so like this was like the first real outside, I guess, validation or like real thing that had like happened where I was like, "Whoa, this is like really coming true." And so the next month, Migos stylists reached out to me for a wireless festival over in the UK, and they wanted me to make masks for them. So these are the masks that I made with Migos, but they actually ended up not wearing them because Drake was camo themed, and they didn't want to match Drake. So, little side note. Then, September that same year, 2021, some of you may know this kid. He had a popular song called "Dancing in My Room" that blew up. And he flew me out to LA to style him for photo shoots, and one of the photo shoots ended up being his single cover on Spotify and Apple Music, and then these photos ended up on a billboard in Canada, which is pretty cool. And then there's a musician named JPEG Mafia, one of my favorite musicians, such a talented dude. Made this keyboard mask, and it just really kind of fit within his world. I just shot him a message. I'm like, "I'm gonna come to your concert, and I'm gonna bring you this mask." And he's like, "Oh, that's awesome! Like, thank you so much." So, go to the concert, bring in the mask, and then I get a notification. Like, I'm waiting in line for the concert, and he tags me in a post, and I'm just like tweaking in the line, just like, what is happening? Go in, and we rock out. It was a great day. So, and then fast forward to April of 2023, he actually ended up buying this off of my website, and then his team reached out in June of 2024 and commissioned me to make that mask for one of his music videos. And then this is him wearing the mask on stage, which is awesome. So shout out JPEG Mafia. And then I hosted my first runway show back in February of 2022. Sold the whole place out. There was 300 people. It was the best day of my life. It still is. Had a line around the building. It was so cool. Just all the beautiful people and just like memories we were able to make there was super special. And then October of 2022, Kendrick Lamar's stylist reached out to me, and they said, "Can you make him a pair of gloves?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And then they were like, "We also want this jacket and then these pieces." I was like, "Done." I have not seen him wear them yet, but maybe one day we will. And then Young Lean, April of 2023, Young Lean just shoots me a message on Instagram randomly. Some of you may know him. I was just like, what the heck, like, because he's one of my biggest just like artistic inspirations. Love his music, love his worlds that he builds. And so I was so stoked. And so this was the original Young Lean jumpsuit that I made. And then so I sent it to him. I sent him some pics. He's like, "Oh, I was thinking something a little bit more simple." I was like, "Damn, I thought I really nailed it on the head." But I was like, "You're Young Lean, so we'll make it work." So this is what we ended up going with. And he ended up wearing it on the stage at Coachella 2023. And you can go watch the live set on Coachella's YouTube channel. It's amazing, I highly recommend it. Shout out Young Wayne. And some of you may have seen this picture, it kind of blew up. Yeah, just a little me. And then you might be wondering what Town Topic, A$AP Rocky, and a Fallout shelter have to do with each other. I was at Town Topic one night, summer of 2023. I was just probably with like 6 of my friends. Late at night, midnight probably. We were just getting a bite, and this dude comes up to us, and he's like, "Where'd you guys get these outfits?" And we're like, "We made them." He's like, "Oh, no way, like, I got this dude I'm shooting a music video for right now. He's really gonna like it." I'm like, "Awesome, man." And he's like, "Can I get some pictures?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Take some pictures. We get to talking a little bit, and it got to a point where I was like, "Who are you shooting a video for? Like, who are you talking about?" And he goes, "A$AP Rocky," like real quietly. I'm like, "What is he doing in Kansas City right now?" And he goes, "He's shooting a Beats by Dre commercial and a music video down in the West Bottoms." And so we changed information, and the next day I get invited out to the set and hired on to style A$AP Rocky and all of his models for the Riot music video that was shot and recorded in the West Bottoms of Kansas City. So this is just like, we had to sign NDA, so I really didn't get that many photos, but this is like a little picture I got of like the dressing room area. This kilt I styled Rocky in, and yeah, super insane experience just to be on like a full set production. Like, it was like a movie set, it was insane. And then October 2023, if you know the band Brockhampton, you probably know Merlin. He reached out, he was like, "Yo, I love your work. I want you to design like cover art and merchandise." So that's that, shout out Merlin. If it weren't for Brockhampton, I probably wouldn't be here. Like, they're a big, just like inspiration to me. So shout out Brockhampton and shout out Merlin Wood. And then October 2023, had the pleasure of meeting Tizo Touchdown on tour. When he was on tour with Travis Scott, they came to the T-Mobile Arena, and I linked up with him. I've been friends with his manager for like years now online, and it was such a just awesome experience to meet him and all of his team. He's so kind, and all of the team members around him are just beautiful people. So super blessed to know him and call him as a friend. This was the original piece that I sent him just as appreciation. I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna just send you card gloves. You're like super inspiring." So he actually ended up wearing them for a magazine. And then this was a football pad that I made covered in keyboards for him. And then this is him on stage wearing a custom Chiefs jersey that I made him for when he was on tour with Travis Scott. This is him on stage with the jersey, and that's Travis. And then so around March of 2024, so about a year ago, I was down bad. I was like down to my last $1,000. I was getting all these like accolades and achievements, but like money was just not coming in. I was like, what the heck? Like, I downloaded Uber. I thought I was about to have to just go get a job. Like, I was really down. And so it got to a point where I was like, all right, God didn't put me on this earth to worry. He didn't put me on this, earth to stress about the things that can come back. So I was like, all right, God, whatever needs to happen, it will happen. So I gave up my anxieties, and literally a week later, I'm not saying it's like what's gonna happen to everyone, but like I will say like everything does happen for a reason. And so like a week later, I sold the penny pants for $7,500, and I was back on my feet. And those are just like little pictures of how I shipped it. Pelican case, yeah. And then August of 2024, Kansas City Star reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, we want to do a story about you." I was like, "That's awesome. You're an iconic like newspaper, of course." So ended up being the front cover page. And then from that, Fox 4 reached out and was like, "Hey, we saw your article in the Star. We want to invite you onto the morning show and talk to you more about it on live television." I was like, "Bet." So that's me on Fox 4. And then from that, someone that worked at the magazine, Kansas City Magazine, was like, "Hey, we want to do an article about you in our magazine." So that is the cover of the magazine, and I actually have a big stack of them for you guys here, so you guys will get those after. And then, September of 2024, I had the pleasure and the honor of meeting legendary Erica Badu. She bought a couple pieces off of my website that were going to be extremely hard to ship. So I was like, "Yo, Erica, can I hand deliver them to either you or a representative?" And she was like, "Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, just pack up your whole car with all your pieces and I'll shop." So I was like, "Bet." And so me and my mom packed up the car, hit the road, and we drove down to Dallas. And She is so sweet. She literally welcomes me and my mom into her home like we were family, cooked us dinner the first night, and invited us back over the next day to hang out more, to try on clothes. I have so much respect for that woman, so thank you, Erica. That's really all I can say. She was constantly bringing out charcuterie boards. It was immaculate. It was so good. That's me and Erica on the right. And then she actually, when I was down there, she gifted me 3 of her hats. And so I actually ended up making a custom for her out of the blue one in the middle. This is what I turned it into and sent it back. And then literally a week after that, I met my favorite band, Magdalena Bay. So the guy I was talking about earlier, Nick Fry, Nick's Music Taste, the dude I was doing all the band and photography with, he is now a music reviewer. And we were both talking to Magdalena Bay because they just already knew about us and stuff. And we go to the concert, and my friend Nick ended up doing an interview with the band. So I got to film my best friend interviewing my favorite band. So that was a very peak moment in my life. And then after that, the drummer commissioned me to make them a custom jumpsuit. So that's what this is. And the drummer actually ended up wearing it on Jimmy Kimmel. And this is a picture that I took of live television of my piece on Jimmy Kimmel. So thank you, Magdalena Bay. Thank you, Nick Villa, the drummer. And then sold the spoon jacket, donated all the money to a charity local that gives back to homelessness. And the guy who bought it actually hung it in his house as a chandelier, which I thought was awesome. And then there's a Brazilian Netflix star named Jessica Cayenne, and she was like, hey, I want a fork jacket, so we made it happen. And then after that, Ripley's Believe It or Not reached out to me and was like, hey, we want the fork jacket. And I said, already sold. But I was like, I could make you a spoon knife fork jacket. So that's what we did. And so this jacket will be on display at a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum coming soon. And so Converse, always loved Converse, wearing them now. These are drawings that I did when I was like 7 years old. Like I said, I believe we all know what our gift is when we're young. We all kind of know what we love to do right off the bat. So these are just drawings that I did when I was like 5, 6, 7. And I literally wrote, my favorite shoes are Converse. Shout out my mom and dad for keeping these in filing cabinets. Because, yeah. And then so April 2024, I posted these. These are the ones I'm wearing. Posted them. And I told everyone, I was like, tag Converse. And literally the next day, I get an email from their agency that was like, hey, we have a client that wants to work with you. And so that's when they asked me if I could create a Converse in my own style. And so I was like, let's do it. So I upcycled. So again, these keyboards came from my dad's work. The inside of every keyboard has a sheet called keyboard membrane. And so I just loved the way it looked. So I completely deconstructed the Converse and remade the top out of keyboard membrane. So everything is handmade, except the sole. I didn't make the sole, that was pre-existing, but yeah. And then so they reached back out in January of this year, and this is the newest collab that I have with Converse. They were like, hey, we trust you, just go crazy again. I was like, bet. So made these match the tie pants, these are woven ties, everything is hand stitched. All these eyelets are redone and reclaimed in. Made these little dudes to match my outfits that I actually have. And they can attach to the sneakers. If you know Jeremy Scott, he kind of has something a little similar. So definitely inspired by that man. Shout out Jeremy Scott. He's actually another Kansas City fashion legend. I'll get more into that in a second. Me and bro, just chilling. I made the outfit to match me. Just pieces I already had. And so he's actually wearing these Converse. Yeah. Keyboard man, not much else to say about that. This is the other side of the Chucks that I handmade. Shout out Evan Johnson again, the photographer, legend. Another shot of him. And then, alright, so you guys are actually the first person to see the new cover of the new book coming out this year in probably a couple months. Thank you. So like while all this was going on, I made that book back in 2021. Only made 300 of them, and so This is the new book. I'm so excited about it. Again, it's with the kid, Evan Johnson. He's a goat. He's a legend. Yes?
Can I tell a little story about the first book?
Sure.
Cory calls me, he says, hey, I'm getting this book made. I said, awesome. How many are you getting? 500. Okay. And I'm thinking, I hope they all sell. But anyway, I didn't realize it's a full pallet of books, guys, and I have a one-lane driveway at my house, so I go out, there's a whole pallet of books. He and his buddies had to carry all those into the house. And they ended up selling them all, but yeah, 500 books is a big stack of books.
Yeah. So that is the 2 books that I've made so far. And I'm actually, these next slides are sneak peeks of the new book. So this is like the table of contents, just with all the outfits. So excited. Like I said, like this is the coolest thing I've ever been a part of and worked on. So shout out Evan Johnson. I cannot stress that enough. He's the person that took all the photos and all the graphic design. Love this page. And yeah, this is another spread. So that's the left side of the book, and then that's the right side of the book when you open it. So yeah, super stoked to get that out. And then Jeremy Scott, you guys need to go check this museum out. It's over at the Nerman Museum in Overland Park, Kansas. It's a part of the Johnson County Community College. It is the coolest, most inspiring thing I've ever seen in Kansas City. Go check it out. If you don't know about Jeremy Scott, do some research. He's a legend. That's him giving me basically a private tour of the museum a day before it opened, because one of his team members reached out. So thank you so much to Jeremy Scott and his team. And also, it's in collaboration of this legend, Catherine Bernhardt. She is a illustrator, painter, drawer from St. Louis, and all the these paintings behind the pieces were done by her. It's such a cool world that they built. And so this is the end, the takeaways. So over the last 5 years, I've been able to combine all my art forms into my brand and make it what it is today. Drawing, origami. I don't think I said this yet, but I've been doing everything myself for the most part. I pack and ship the orders still. I make the pieces, I make the videos for the pieces, so I'm doing everything at the moment. Key takeaways. Something that was really hard for me, but I had to learn and go through it, was friends and business don't always mix. It's better to have conflict with someone than to allow them to take advantage of your kindness. This was pretty hard for me because I always want to just be friends with everyone I meet. I never want to have weird energy or tension. But for this certain situation, it got to a point where I had to distance myself and just kind of step away. Even though it felt weird, it was better because it was respecting my boundaries, and that's what's most important. But that's something I want to just add in there. Another thing, always have agreements in writing in business, just so you guys can look back at it, and you guys can always be on the same page about stuff. And then the 4 most important things that I will end this with, that I believe is why I've been able to get to where I'm at, is know what your gift is. Like I said, I feel like we all kind of start with knowing what that is. But just I don't know, if you don't know it, just think back to what you loved to do as a kid, and whatever just was there that made you the most excited is probably what your gift is. And then once you figure that out, work hard at it. Stay consistent with it. I've literally worked 70 to 80 hours a week for 5 years straight, so that's definitely another reason why I've been able to just do what I have done. Work your ass off, and it'll pay off. And then optimism, it's the factor that not a lot of people, I think, consider, but it's very important because it just gives you that competitive edge. You have to be the person that sees the cup half full and not half empty. I don't know, it starts within your mind. Your reality starts here. Your brain perceives it, and what you think about becomes your reality. So stay optimistic, try your best. And if you try your best, sometimes that's all you can do. So lastly, but honestly most important, is faith. If I didn't have faith, I would not be here. I would not have my brand. I would not be doing any of this. So have faith in whatever it is that you love. Have faith in you, have faith in God, have faith in your art. And I think most importantly for me, I have faith in God. And so, going back to the penny pants situation, it was just at a point where I was like, all right, God, I'm gonna just give this stress and anxiety to you. If I need to get back to a job, I will. And so after that, everything has changed and for the better. So faith is the most important thing, and I think that's it. Yeah, if you want to follow me on my journey, Cory Infinite, Cory Infinite, on Instagram and TikTok.
So like obviously like when you like finds kind of comfort in pushing boundaries. Can you like recall the first project you did and you were like this like funky, like this is kind of weird and I like it a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me think. I would say so. In the period of switching from tapestry sweaters to more of like upcycled pieces, there was one photo shoot in particular that I can remember where I was literally doing just sweaters. That was it. Like I wasn't like going outside of sweaters. And then I was like, I want to just do something different. You know, like I said, that's how it goes. Is if you're an artist, you can't just be doing the same thing. You got to keep it fresh. So I just went to the thrift store. I was like, I'm gonna just figure something out. And so I got like this hunting jumpsuit. Got that like briefcase with like the flowers on it that I was wearing in one of the outfits. And then I found like a doily. Do you know what a doily is?
Yeah.
So yeah, I found like a doily at the thrift and I just put it over my head. Just like, I don't know, this looks cool. So we went on a photo shoot and that was the first moment where I think I was like, okay, there's something to this and it's exciting, it's new, it's fresh, and like it's funky. So yeah, of course. Yes?
I guess like where do you see yourself in the next like 10 years?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I have no idea. But I would say doing the same thing, just on a bigger scale. I want to eventually hire people to help me do things that I don't want to be doing, like the photography, the video. Like I want to be the person that always hand makes the art. So I definitely want to get to a point where I can outsource everything else to other people. I saw you first.
Do you always want to live in Kansas City, or do you want to eventually move somewhere, like New York, Los Angeles?
I will always have a home in Kansas City, absolutely, because I've been to New York once, and that's all it took for me to know that like I would not be able to create in that city. My mind would just be exploding. But I love it there. It's cool. Like it's a great place to visit and like maybe get like a condo there for a few months, but I don't think I could ever be there long term just because of how it affects my creative process. But yeah, I like Kansas City because it's kind of feels like this city is like its own little lodge out in like the countryside, you know, like kind of observing everything else, and that like feeling allows me to create better, I guess. So, Eddie.
That's good. Do you ever see yourself getting into furniture or upcycling furniture with your designs?
Yes, actually. I have yet to make furniture, but over the past like 4 months, it's been in the back of my head a lot. So I could see myself definitely trying to make some furniture. And with my dad being so good at woodworking and carpentry, like definitely we'll make some furniture eventually. Absolutely.
Do you have any words of wisdom for like a young designer who's got to step into the workforce?
What do you mean by workforce? Like the corporate world, or like?
Just like after college.
Do you want to do the entrepreneur route? Like, do you want to do your own kind of thing, or like, do you want to work for do you want to design under like a label or something?
Probably like never.
See, like I don't have any experience for that, so I wouldn't be the best person to answer that. But like, in my case, like, all you can really do sometimes is like work hard and stay optimistic and like just have faith in it. Like that's really what it comes down to. And like there'll be times where you don't know what you're gonna do, where you're going, or where you're even at, but as long as you just kind of keep moving and physically, you know, grabbing materials, throwing them on the floor, cutting them up, breaking apart keyboards, like just keep moving, I think is the best thing. And you'll eventually get to where you need to be.
So you and Dad mentioned like you're working with your buddies. I was wondering if you can share more experience about how your team works, like how they started, and
yeah,
have ever since like you guys published so many times by like different performers. I was wondering, were there any like labels offer you like a position, and how was that affecting the whole team?
Yeah, so for the most part, it's just me, and so I had a roommate that lived with me for about a year, and we made the penny pants, that belt loop outfit, and a few other pieces that we made together. But like he moved out and he moved back up to Michigan and stuff. So like it's really just me doing everything right now. And I have had times where like ASAP Rocky wanted me to come out to California like after the shoot and just like work with him for a little bit. But like it kind of fell off a little bit just because I wanted to stay in Kansas City at the time. And it was like kind of right when I was like adjusting to my new house. And so yeah, I mean there's been opportunities where like bigger like people and labels will kind of ask me to work for them and stuff, but like for the most part I just want to have my own shit. Like I like that's part of the reason why I started my brand. I hate I hate having to go to the like work for like, oh no, I can't be going to the same place every single day being told what to do. It just, my mind will explode. And so that's actually part of the reason why I do work so hard like as an entrepreneur. It's just because I just never want to end up back at Hy-Vee. So that's kind of how it goes. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, did Converse trying to hire you before?
No, right now it's just a collaboration between my brand and Converse. It's not anything like official, but honestly, that is a goal of mine. I do want to have an official Cory's Converse line one day. So that is what I dream of. Yeah. Anything else?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Cool.
Talking about the Converse real quick. So, in your mind, you would do a collaboration like that, but you want to drive the creative process. You want to drive the actual end result creation, not the company. Is that accurate?
Yeah, honestly, if like anyone comes to me, the number one priority is that like they trust me and that they'll allow me to kind of have freedom of like whatever, as long and you know that's situational, so that can be different for anything. But yeah, that's the most important thing. Is like I was very excited to work with Converse because they were like, hey, we trust you, just go crazy. I was like, bet. So I just like made those handmade pieces, and yeah, I definitely want to have like an official line, which I think will definitely happen one day. So we're speaking that out now. This one? My mom, so a couple of Christmases ago, I just told my mom, I was like, I just want a nice fur hat for Christmas. I don't care about anything else. Just give me a hat with fur on it. And so my mom got it for me.
I can't remember what country it came from. Somewhere in Europe, though.
Yeah.
It was on eBay, I think.
There you go.
I was curious how you fastened like the forks and knives and spoons to those pieces of clothing.
Good question. So for those pieces, my dad has a drill press, and so I just go over to my dad's house and I literally drill press thousands of pennies over and over and over and over and over. And so I got the holes in the pennies, and then I took zip ties and I would just poke it through the fabric and just zip tie the penny into the pants, and I did that 7,000 times. Yeah, I went through
Lots of bits.
Oh yeah, I had to buy a couple packs. Yeah, they're burning. Yeah.
We would have to select the bit for the metal.
Yeah, diamond bits were the best, of course.
Are you always wearing your own designs when you go out?
My rule is I will always be in at least one handmade piece, whether it be pants, jacket, hat, whatever. So like I'll combine my pieces with like thrifted stuff as well. But right now this is like the hat's not by me, but the top and the bottom was by me, and then I've been stitching these Converse back together for the last 5 years. So yeah, yep.
How did you like stay motivated when you were starting?
There's a lot that goes into that. I think, you know, having that 9 to 5, like kind of like over my shoulder, just like, if you don't make it, you're gonna have to be stuck in one of these jobs. Like that definitely pushes me and like motivates me. And then honestly, I think what it ultimately comes down to is, I mean, I believe we were created by God to create. We all have intricately designed bodies in an intricately designed universe to intricately design our own creations. So that right there is enough, you know, inspiration and motivation for me to create until I die.
How heavy were the penny pants?
The penny pants I think were 41 pounds. Yeah. They have suspenders that go with them so they don't fall. Yes.
So when you're creating a piece, how often does a piece kind of take on a life of its own? Like, do you sit down and sketch out everything that you want the piece to be, or do you allow the piece to evolve as you're making it?
Yeah, so I don't ever sketch. I'm not good at drawing. My mom is a great illustrator and painter and drawer, but I did not inherit that skill. That's something I didn't get, but I'm very hands-on, and my process really just looks like me going to a thrift store, finding things that I think look cool, taking them back home, throwing them in front of me, and just kind of trying to piece them together the best way I can. And yeah, that's really kind of how it goes.
It's not really a question, it might lead to one at some point, but I enjoy seeing how your designs form themselves from like the last step that you just did, and it's kind of like an intuitive, like free flow of what it is to become, and that reflects like your development as an artist as well. You know, like one thing leads to the next.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you seeing that. I definitely agree, and I've thought about that too. Mm-hmm. I think the ultimate art piece will be like I don't know, like that kind of goes off of like kind of always being inspired as well, because like when I get to the end of my life, that will be the final art piece, you know, like it's just all the stuff that I have and have been able to create and stuff. And so, yeah, it's like sometimes I get stuck, you know, in life or on pieces, and it eventually works itself out if I, you know, talk to other people, or if I take breaks, go skateboard or something, maybe travel somewhere. Yeah, so it's just like kind of this free flowing thing that does get jammed sometimes, but as long as you keep moving, like physically moving, you'll get to the spot where you need to be. Any other cues?
Have you dealt with any negative feedback or haters or things like that? And if so, how did you deal with that?
Yeah. That's a whole story. When I was first starting my TikTok account back in 2020, most of my videos would just blow up because of hate. Like the whole comment section would just be people fighting, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like more eyes on my art. I don't care. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like I don't know. It's just I mean it's interesting. It's weird because you wouldn't really think that there's that much hate until you like really just like experience it online. It's like such an interesting thing that people do. Like I don't know. It's just kind of mind blowing that like people will sit there and like spend that much time to try to tear people down. I guess just like why don't you just create stuff? Yeah.
How often, like, since you conceptualize the design in your head, does it like change by the time you're done?
Well, I love that question, bro. So actually, the thing that's most exciting about my art for me is that I have no idea what it's going to look like when it's done. Like every time I make something, I'm just like following step by step. I don't see the end result really. Sometimes I do for certain pieces, of course, but like for a lot of the pieces that I make, like I'm really just kind of like trying to find that next like stair step. And like, so when I'm creating these pieces, it's really a discovery of the piece. And when I discover the piece, that's the greatest feeling to me. And that's why I love to do it so much, honestly.
How do you balance out like making, like do you focus on one project at a time, or like do you kind of juggle things?
Yeah, for the most part, I kind of go project by project, but for certain projects like the keyboard jumpsuit, like that took me like a few months, and like I had more projects going on during that. Like I couldn't just sit down and do all of that in one sitting. So yeah, it's usually like I'll complete a piece and work on the next, but there are sometimes pieces in the background that are being worked on as well.
Yep.
How many sewing machines have you broken, and what is the sewing machine that you use, or do you mostly like hand sew?
That's a great question. So I broke probably 4 senior heavy duties. I don't know if you know what that is or not. They're not heavy duty at all.
That's what I figured. I was like, I don't even know how your sewing machine goes to like that number.
Well, so I broke 4 of them, and I got to a point like I'm wasting money. Like I need to just actually upgrade to an industrial machine. And so there's a local Kansas City sewing store called, I think it's called Missouri Sewing Machine. And that's where I have bought, I have 2 industrial machines now. One is called a Juki DDL 8700. It's like a standard straight stitch machine. It's a beast. You don't need anything more than that really. it'll stitch through like 16 layers of jeans, like no problem. So that's what I use for like straight stitch. And then I actually just bought another one recently for zigzag stitches, an industrial one, and that's a FOF 138. It's a German sewing machine from like the 1960s, and it still runs great. That's the thing with industrial; they'll last forever if you take good care of them. And I probably don't take that great care of them because like I'm sewing through like wires and stuff, but like you gotta do what you gotta do.
Those commercial machines he has are dangerous.
Yeah, it's like a car motor like attached to a table. You have to change the oil out every few months and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
How many stitches on that Juki full pedal?
Like fast?
Yeah, like 3,000. I mean, it's crazy.
Maybe it's like I think it may be like 5,500 a minute, maybe like on max speed. Don't quote me on that. I think that's just a guess, something like that.
What are some of your fashion influences? This jacket reminds me a lot of Issei Miyake's work.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. Like, I really don't pay attention too much to the industry. I never really was like that interested in like designers and stuff. I was honest, like back in middle school, you know what a hype beast is? I was a hype beast. Like I was wearing Supreme and Bape, bro. Like, I was just like I don't know. And like I kind of like grew out of like that scene when I went into high school. I started just thrifting everything, and I think what excites me most is just like going to a thrift store and like finding like cool things that I can like turn into art and stuff. But no, like I definitely actually something I've been meaning to do is actually sitting down and like trying to study more about like fashion history and stuff. Because like I just found out about Jeremy Scott like 2 years ago, and I didn't even know he was from Kansas City until recently. He's an absolute legend, and like I said, that one museum he has, like you guys need to check it out. It's so cool.
Check out Threaducation on YouTube.
What is it?
Threaducation.
Threaducation.
Yeah.
All right, bet. Cool. I will. Thank you.
Do you ever see yourself branching into like a blanket or a tapestry category? Or just making like huge blankets
Oh, that's a
with
cool.
your fabrics? Maybe with the fabrics, like the end fabrics,
I think
scraps.
I definitely want to make like a wall piece that's like a tapestry of like a collage of all sorts of fabrics. Maybe that even creates like an image out of the fabrics or something. I have thought about that. I also want to kind of like get into upholstery as well. So like that would go into like furniture and stuff too, like you were saying. So
I can totally see that happening.
yeah,
You
definitely.
should do like a big, like tapestry of just all the scraps of all your work, of all like the projects you've worked on. I'm sure your boxes and boxes.
Yeah.
All that.
We'll definitely get that going one day for
Pretty
sure.
crazy.
Yeah. Yes.
What would be your dream celebrity to collaborate with?
I kind of already knocked it out. Like I already kind of did it with Young Lean and JPEG Mafia. I want to just work again with Young Lean because like I love the worlds that he builds. If Mac Miller was still alive, that would be number one probably. Trying to think who else. I don't know. I don't know. It'll just happen. Like things like that just happen when they need to, I guess. Yeah.
What's the most frustrating piece you've worked on?
I really love it. So at the end of the day, like even if my fingers are like in pain after I'm done making a piece, like I'm really like satisfied and I still love it. I think, like I said, like those smocked jeans, those were like, they were painful, like, cause like hand stitching through like a cotton shirt is super easy, but like just to try to think about like a dead stock denim with like 8 layers and like I had to like get like a thimble and like, it was just a brutal process, but we got through it. So I would say the smocking jeans were probably the most painstaking piece.
Can you talk and kind of share a little bit about some of the pieces that we haven't seen that you've done a lot of engineering and a lot of really cool concept, like the spinning helmet?
Yeah, actually, so like there's so much that I have created but didn't add to this presentation. So like if you want to go look at my accounts and stuff, you'll probably be able to find them if you scroll. And so like, yeah, I've made like a lot of different like fun projects where like I'll put like a book, like I called it Facebook, and like it's a mask that has a book on it, and it like has strings that like open and close the book. And then like the fan mask, as you saw in there, I went to my dad for help on that because I didn't know kind of how to engineer that one really. That was a difficult process, so thank you for helping me on that. What else? Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just always kind of different, which is what I like. You know, like I'll sew a bunch and then like I'll get tired of it and then I'll just zip tie 1,000 pennies to a shirt, you know, or something like, you know, yeah. So, yeah.
I keep thinking you should show the group one of your videos, like your penny pants videos, because you're really good at
True.
editing,
We could.
and setting to music,
That's
and like
true.
telling a story and making people laugh. He's really good at it.
I'll go to Instagram.
That would be a fun one
Oh,
if
we
you can find it.
Yeah, Cory, find the hangman video. Find that video. That's the video I was in.
Wait, which one?
The hangman.
Oh yeah.